Hey everybody, this is Tyson.
And Logan.
And you're listening to Dad, Bods, and Beards podcast. It's a show that gives you a fresh look on being a father, a husband, and honestly, a man being in today's world.
For people who want to have a good time, laugh, and be uplifted, thanks for subscribing and listening. Now for the show.
Okay, you know what I absolutely hate?
Me touching my nose.
No, but it's that. So when people touch their noses or they do this or they're like this or like that crap, drives me freaking bonkers because I'm like, do I have it in my nose?
Oh, because they're...
Because I'm like, because I feel, because our last episode where I was a little emotional. I really wasn't. I just laughed a lot. And because of that, I feel like my nose is a little bit wet. And so you were doing this. You know, like snot and stuff.
Yeah, I know what. Yeah.
And so you were doing this. I'm like, crap. Do I have something on my nose? I hate when people do that.
Well, it's only because I'm making eye contact with you because we're talking and my nose happened to itch. So it's like you just like internalize that, thinking that I'm like.
Don't you?
Well, don't you think that?
No. Look at me.
What? I don't. That doesn't bother me.
You don't think you would have something?
Because see, here's the thing: is I trust you to just tell me. I'm not going to be like subtly like Tyson, I'm like, bro, you got a booger on your mustache. Like, I would just tell you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, well, you're welcome. Can we put that to bed?
That means a lot to me.
Like, no, I had a rogue mustache hair that was going straight up the right nostril, and I had to take care of it.
Dude, I sleep on my left side more than I guess on my right side, and so it messes my mustache up, and so it always pushes.
You sleep on your face?
I do.
Oh,
I do sleep on my face. I don't know how I breathe.
That's probably why you have sleep. You don't have sleep apnea. You're just
I don't have sleep apnea. I'm just killing myself
You're
slowly.
just suffocating. You're like, yeah, you stop breathing because you have something over your face.
It's not my wife. Just kidding.
Oh,
no,
man.
but I will sleep like this, and so I have like this much on my mouth in, and the hairs will get pushed up, and so like half the day I'm like always doing this, and I'll fix this, and that's all.
That's funny. You know, see, I've gotten to the point where I've got to I gotta start putting it in a bun when I sleep because it goes into my ear, and it makes me think there's a spider in my ear.
Or an earwig.
Yeah. Don't. No, don't go there. No, I'm gonna think about it too much.
And little clumpers.
Yeah, pinchers.
Do they actually go into your ear?
I don't know.
Like what is that? Why they're called earwigs?
I don't know. I have pest control.
Or
so.
do they grab the wax and they make it a wig?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hi, I'm an
That
earwig."
That was the other episode. That would have been the conspiracy theories one.
Oh, that was the dumbest comment I've ever.
Oh goodness, man!
Chomper! I'm an earwig.
What is that? And cut. Oh, buddy. How did this go from like?
I don't know. This is supposed to be a serious episode.
I know. We'll get there indefinitely, but like you just get the giggles out at first. Apparently, my wife's gonna wonder why I'm sleeping in so late tomorrow. It's because I'm just exhausted from hanging out with Tyson.
I can't. Okay. So motivation and discipline.
Do we need to like cut so you can catch your breath?
No, but I'm sweating again. No, so chomper.
Oh man.
Okay. I can't see though. Just give me a second. Okay. I must be tired because that was not funny.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
All right. So this is kind of a more serious one because you and I, you know, there's a point in our lives where we are motivated to make Dad, Bods, and Beards a thing.
Yeah.
We're motivated, you including like you to me, you're as part of Copper Johns as I am. And so you're motivated to get Copper Johns going, and you're motivated for Dad, Bods, and Beards. But at the same time, we want to talk about like motivation can only get you so far.
Yeah.
And so we also have discipline. So I want to talk about a little bit the difference between motivation and discipline. Okay. What's the difference between them? And then how do we use them both together to achieve our goals?
Yeah.
So question for you, what is the difference to you between motivation and discipline?
Well, I think if you would have asked me my definition of discipline a year ago, it'd have been different about than what it is now, right? And I think that that can trail back to like when we did 75 hard, like before we became friends with Robert and like his whole definition of discipline. So I would say now my definition difference between motivation and discipline is like motivation I feel like can be very fleeting. Like you can get motivated by watching like an Instagram reel
Mm-hmm.
or a TikTok or reading a quote, which I'm guilty of like putting those things out there too because I do want to motivate people.
Absolutely.
I think motivation is necessary, but like discipline is doing it because you know you need to because if like it's the whole like the hardest thing about going to the gym is putting your shoes on, right? How many times have I texted you like, oh, I really didn't want to go to the gym, but then by the time I got home, I was like, I went. I'm glad that I
Mm-hmm.
went. I got it done. Versus, you know, right now I'm in a slump with going to the gym, and I keep thinking, oh, I need to go. Oh, I need to go. And I have these fleeting moments of motivation, but then I didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the motivation is necessary and sometimes, but the discipline is what makes you do the thing that you maybe necessarily don't want to do, but you know that it's good for you or good for the people around you.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. So motivation is you do something that needs to be done when you want to do it.
Yeah.
And then excuse me, self-discipline is ability to listen or to act based on your inner voice, regardless of how you feel, other influences or temptations you face. Discipline is the key to self-mastery. And so there's a quote by Jim Rohn. It says, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments.
Mm.
And so when we talk about the difference between motivation and discipline, how does motivation and discipline affect our ability to achieve these goals then?
Oh, geez. Um, well, like I said, motivation is fleeting, dude. Like I could sit here and tell you 10 different times that I was motivated in the last day.
Absolutely.
But how many different things have I done? Not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably if any. I'm going through the same motions because we're creatures of habit, dude. We go through the same motions every single day. And that's the whole like doing the same thing, expecting different results, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean the same thing like what I do with Copper John's social media. Like I find myself kind of in the same position every week as I'm trying to crunch through this YouTube video because I keep telling myself, "Oh, I'm going to get it done by this point. I'm going to get it done by this point." When in reality, if I just did it, which is discipline, then I wouldn't be crunching at the last part of the week versus, you know, trying to find the motivation to do it. So that's just kind of what it is for me is just the differences. Motivation is, I'll say this again, motivation is fleeting, discipline is more constant. Like it's just you do it because you
But
do
do you
it.
have to have motivation?
No, because I mean, there's been a lot of times where I mean, Robert, our friend Robert,
Mm-hmm.
he talks about this till he's like blue in the face. Is like, dude, I don't think that dude has missed a day running in I don't know how many years because he just gets up and does it
Mm-hmm.
because he has seen, he's gotten the, I, I mean, he's seen what it benefits his life. So it's like he doesn't need the motivation anymore because he has the discipline. I think motivation is absolutely necessary in the beginning, right? Because you have to be motivated to want to change, but then there's
Mm-hmm.
going to hit days where you don't want to put in the work to do that change,
I
right?
love that. No, so get this. So this is a quote. Same person. Or not same person. This is a quote by Christina Tracy. And she talks about motivation is reason or reasons why a person behaves or acts in a certain way. Generally, a person's desire to do something is fueled by their motivation. So, motivation is vital in attaining goals in one's life. These goals can be personal, competitive, and based on society. And this was huge to me because society is just really kind of interesting to me because there's goals that you and I have, like physical, like healthiness, mental healthness,
Yeah.
being mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, all that kind of stuff. And so that we have our personal, but then our goals are based on society, and that kind of like hit me because our goals might be just because we want to fit in, and so we
Ooh.
want to be able to do things. And so to me, you have motivation to buy a car, or motivation to buy a boat, or motivation to beat the Joneses and stuff like that. But is that really going to create discipline? I don't think so. I think motivation with those type of things are fleeting because trends change, desires change. Your friends might want something different and all that. So, to me, we have to have more self. What is it? Self worth.
Yeah.
when it comes to things like this, because we can have a desire to be better. Like I started Copper Johns to be better, to help people, to influence people to take care of themselves, both physically and mentally. That's
Mhm.
why I have be proud of who they are. But also, I want to help my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to be able to say, hey, you want to go to you know, she just got into nationals for tumbling.
Your daughter.
And so she's going to be going to Minnesota, the Mall of America. That's way cool to fly. There's a lot for our whole family and stuff like that. And so I'm just like, it'd be nice to be able to say, hey, yeah, let's do it. It's not
Yeah.
going to be a problem. Instead of, oh man, how are we going to get this done? And so I think motivation and creating a better life for our family is it helps. It helps me stay motivated because I'm doing what I'm doing to stay motivated. But for society, I don't think it works. So motivation is important to break old habits and develop healthy ones. That's
Mm.
the one key thing is I think when we started um what is it called? 75 hard.
Yeah.
When we started 75 hard, I personally was eating like garbage.
Oh, I went to Cheesecake Factory before we started.
Yeah. Like I was eating tons of candy, I was eating all this kind of garbage and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, hey, 75 hard. I had motivation to change my life. And so we
Yeah.
changed habits so that we could change our lives. But
Mm-hmm.
it got hard.
Well, it's not called 75, not that bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
So the question is how can motivation and discipline affect our ability to achieve our goals? So motivation to me is we can become better, and we're motivated to become better, but discipline comes when the motivation fails because we're tired
ooh,
and we're exhausted and we're miserable.
yeah.
And I don't want to get up when it's snowing.
Well, yeah, you can't be 100% motivated all the time. Like to be motivated, I mean, there probably are people who are 100% motivated all the time, but it's probably because they have they know what, like they have the discipline to motivate them because they know what the outcome is because they do it. So, like, I can't even remotely grasp the amount of work it takes for people to run these marathons. And like you're telling me the whole time they're running these 26 miles, they're super motivated. Bullcrap, because a lot of times by the end of it, they look like they just fought the biggest battle of their life. They're crying and all that stuff. So there's got to be a huge level of discipline in there, right? For me, kind of going back to motivation, I was thinking like, where does the motivation lie? Because motivation is what got me out of my darkest times, not because I saw some quote or not some whatever, because I didn't have discipline. I was completely undisciplined, right? Like I was super self destructive and unmedicated and undiagnosed and all that stuff. But I still had this inner desire and motivation to like be be physically like alive for my wife and kids. So it's like their motivation is 100% necessary, but I think kind of going back to what you're saying is you gotta be careful about where that motivation comes from. Is like, are you motivated because society or XYZ person says that you should be this thing,
Mm-hmm.
or are you naturally personally motivated because you know that there is a higher form of your life that you can achieve if you continue? And I think that motivation goes up and down. I mean, there's one day where I'm like, go, 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 let's get it, let's get it, get it. And I do reap the benefits from that, and that's great. And then there's other days where it's like, I just wasn't feeling it and I don't feel good. And I'll look back and I'll probably regret it. And then there were days where I was like dead set on being dedicated to doing the things that I knew that was better, like being disciplined. But at the same time, discipline can be very fleeting. So I don't think anybody has the perfect answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it comes down to 100% of like where what effort you put in and where it goes, if that makes any sense. I mean, you've heard the story of like everyone has two wolves inside of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whichever one you feed is the one that gets stronger. So for me, it's super situational, right? Like right now, not super motivated to go to the gym because we have so many things on our plate at home. We have so many things on our plate with Dad Bods and Beards, so many things on our plate with Copper Johns. And I was just telling you about this the other day. I was like, man, I am like anxious and stressed, but like not upset about it because these are things that I want to do, not things that I have to do. Yeah. So it's like I'm motivated to make Dad Bods and Beards what and Copper Johns what you and I know that it can be. But at the same time, like we're gonna hit road bumps. We're gonna have flops. We're gonna have things that, that don't do great, or we're gonna have these, situations like we ran into this last week, like where we thought something was purchased that we needed already. Like and so having the motivation like I said, it's fleeting, and I don't rely a whole lot on motivation. I try to stick with the discipline, but I give myself a break.
You just said something that's huge to me. Dead serious. Like you just said something huge, like you never have. You said discipline or no motivation. You kind of basically said motivation leads to inconsistency.
Sure.
I really believe that. I think motivation leads to inconsistency. Like think about when and it leads to failure when you just have that. Like it leads to thinking that you're bigger than you are or things that you can do without thinking about it, because discipline is going to allow you time to think and actually have a plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas motivation is like, ooh, let's do this. Ooh, let's do this because I'm excited.
Yeah.
And when Copper John started, I started in January or July of 2020. In November 2020, I'm like, okay, I have $20,000. Let's do ads. And I threw it to the first agency I knew of. I didn't go look. I didn't do any research. And I said, hey, let's do this. I have and they're like, okay, we should be able to get 3 to 5% ROI on this, return on investment.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, okay, so let's do this. And I made 11 cents per dollar I spent.
Oh, geez.
Of that 20,000, and I lost it all in 2 months.
Dude.
And I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
And I learned that, hey, I'm excited. I have passion. I want this to grow. Gotta be smarter. You know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. And so I think motivation will lead to inconsistency. Your passion and your motivation is going to get you up. It's going to feed your engine, feed your heart, that type of thing. But in the end, discipline is like, it's going to lead to consistency. It's going to lead you to you making right decisions and using your head.
So I would say that the best experience or the best example I have of dedication and why that is, or excuse me, discipline, and is why that is, I don't know. I guess I don't want to say one is more important than the other, but I'd say if I had to, why discipline is more important, because the biggest problem in the mental health industry the biggest problem with mental illness is inconsistency with medication or just treatment in
100%.
general, right? You have experiences with that in your own life and people that you care about and maybe your own personal life. And for me, like it hit a point where my wife could be like, you haven't taken your meds. Like, I don't know in how long, but you're off, because she can like almost predict like a cycle with me. So, and that's such a double-edged sword, because sometimes medication has certain, side effects that people don't like, right? But then it's like, if I don't take it, then I'm going to be psychotic, or I'm going to be manic, or things like that. And so I found in my life where I looked at the biggest times where I was inconsistent, I didn't like who I was, all these different things, it's when I wasn't consistent with my medication and treatment plans.
Which requires discipline.
Which 100% requires discipline, because you think about it, it seems so menial of like, well, what do you need to be motivated for to take a pill at bedtime? I mean, there was a period where I was on multiple pills and I had to have like alarms set on my phone. But the current plan that I'm on now, thankfully, is I'm on one and then some additional treatment stuff that I do periodically. But I had to get to the point where it was like, have you ever read the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits?
I've heard it.
Oh, dude, that's a good one. That's a game changer. You want to talk about getting some motivation and then and then coupling it with discipline. So it just breaks down the science of habits. It breaks down like how the human brain works with like, getting a reward out of what you're doing. So that was a big one for me, was realizing that I needed to create a habit to stay on my treatment plan, to give myself the best fighting chance possible to stay as balanced as possible for not only myself, but for my wife, for my children, and for the people that I care about. So that's where like my relationship with just discipline comes from.
So how did you come to the conclusion that, hey, I have the motivation, now I need to make it discipline? How do you transition? Because your motivation is going to be there, motivation isn't going to be there. Like I said, it's very inconsistent, but discipline is always going to be there. So how do you create that discipline?
I don't know. I almost think that you have to like I don't think there's like a cookie cutter answer for that, other than it's individualized. Like for me, I had enough instances and I had enough evidence to show that if I don't do this, it's going to suck. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, and when you're in the middle of the suck, you're kind of like, oh man, if I was just doing this, it wouldn't be this. But like that same thing happened when I battled with food addiction for so long. We've talked about this. Like but I would still find myself running to the food that made me feel better
Because it's
until,
an addiction.
yeah. And it's like, here I am in my literally my mid 30s. And sometimes I still battle with it. And then there was stints where we were on our health kick for like 6 months, and you and
Mm-hmm.
I both did really good, but then motivation is fleeting. So for me, it was almost kind of like traumatic. I had a traumatic experience. I had
Mm-hmm.
enough traumatic experience of what it's like to not be on my treatment plans to where I've hit the point where I'm like, I don't have the I don't have the luxury of being motivated to do this. Because like if I don't, this is everything that I stand to lose. So for me, it's you know, it's discipline or nothing else in certain categories of my life, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna have a heart attack tomorrow. At least I don't hope. At least I hope I won't.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm not if I'm not like on my game with going to the gym and still continuing to lose weight and get healthier or whatever, I
Mm-hmm.
still can improve there. But I've seen the other side of what happens if I don't take care of my mental health. I've seen what happens to my wife. I've seen what happens with my relationship with my kids and other people. So I think it's finding like this sounds so cliche, but people who get it will get it, of kind of like when you've had enough of something going the wrong way enough times, you're not going to need motivation, because like when you're determined for something to just be better, and you can literally affect that with something as
Mm-hmm.
little as a pill, or as little as just like waking up 30 minutes earlier so you're not rushing to work, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it I mean, you got to find that. And motivation is great. I love motivation, but
So I made a list.
okay.
You saw the list, and of things that I have personally done, and I have taught. I taught college from 2010 to 2018,
Yeah.
and I had to teach. There was a class that was there because it was more for adult education. I had to teach people how to make goals,
Mm,
and I think goals is the first thing that you need to do. But people don't know how to make goals.
yeah.
They think, "Oh, I want this," and I'm like, "Okay, perfect. What are you going to do?"
Yeah.
You're talking about you want a house. You're making minimum wage. Unfortunately, you can't buy a house making minimum wage.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do that? So what I have everyone always do, and I'm dead serious, like do this with your family. If you seriously, if you haven't done this with your kids and your wife, do it.
Okay.
So you get I get a big poster board, and we did this for a family activity, and I absolutely loved it. You put your who you are in the middle. So your values, but not just your values, just who you are. So like I am a good person, or I love my family, all these things that just are valued to
Mm-hmm.
you in the middle. And then let's say you want to buy a house. You're going to put a house on the corner. That's your big goal right here. Let's say one of the other goals is you have to you want something spiritual. And then anyway, you have all these four goals. There's four monster goals that are going to be really, really hard to get. Then you come down here to where all your goals are. You draw a line. And then, okay, daily. What is a daily goal that I'm going to have to do to accomplish in order to make that dream goal happen? What am I going to have to do today and
Mm,
every day to get a house? And then you're going to have to go to weekly. What am I going to have to do weekly on top of the daily in order to get that house? And then monthly, and then yearly. And then all of a sudden you have
mm,
these small goals that will lead to these intermediate goals that will lead to a big goal that will lead to the end goal. And so we're going to have a lot of failures. We're going to have a lot of problems. But if you create goals that are very attainable to get to your big goal, that's going to that's going to help you keep motivated. But
mm-hmm.
even if you're not, it's going to keep you. It's going to give you that discipline to be able to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done." Like I want to lose 100 pounds. Well, you're not going to lose 100 pounds overnight.
Sure.
But I can go to the gym every day and work out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to eat perfect every day. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But on a weekly basis, you know what I can do? There's 20 meals or whatever, how many meals you eat a week. 21. Let's say you eat 3 meals a day, 21 meals. Let's say 15 of them are really good.
Yeah.
The other ones are not. But right now, everyone isn't. So things like that.
Mm.
Okay, sorry to tuck your off, but then
No, I love
you got to
that.
practice prioritizing. You talked about that. You talked about prioritizing your life. You and I have a chaotic family or chaotic world that we
Yeah.
live in. Like we have work, we have social media, we have dad bods and beards, we have family, we have church, we have all these things that we have to take care of.
Yeah.
Well, what's more important? What's the most important right now? Then the next, and then the next. Like I told Candace once, she does. She's very very good. Candace is amazing at this.
Yeah.
But sometimes she'll say, "You need to do this, this, and this. I need you to get this done," and it's fair. I need to get them done. But which one's more important? Because right now, it's snowing outside. Do you want me to take care of this, or do you want me to take care of this? You got to prioritize because you're not going to get everything done. Then know your weaknesses.
Mm.
You mentioned that, let's say we're talking about losing weight. You said you had a hard time with fast food. I have a hard time with fast food.
Yeah.
Me personally, I love like candy, but not chocolates. Like I like high fives and high chews. Not high fives. High five. I like high
Yeah.
fives, but high chews and things like that. So I know that if I go into the dollar store,
Oh, you're walking out with candy.
I'm going to walk out with candy. I just know this, and so I'm like, okay, it's okay. But today, you know what? I'm going to stay in the car and let my kids go get what they want.
Yeah.
And here's $5. You just go get what you want, that type of thing. I'm not going to go in. Know your weaknesses, because if you know your goal, but you, like I said, 15 out of 21 are good. If that's one of the bad ones, dude, freaking Airheads are rock stars for me.
I love Airheads.
Green Airheads at the Apple. Anyway, then the next one is get others to hold you accountable. That's one
That's
big
a hard
thing.
one.
Candace is amazing at it.
I think most wives are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm horrible at it.
Well, yeah, guys cave first. Like, what's that? Like, hey, we should eat healthier, whatever. And guys are always gonna be
No,
the
I'm
first
horrible about telling Candace. I'm like, you sure? Because what I'll
Oh,
do,
yeah.
she's like, oh, I don't want this anymore. What's the first thing I go buy?
Mhm.
I go buy it for her.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to, but I know you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the oh gosh, what's the word? Like you're enabler. Yeah. I was
No,
like,
she's like, I can't have any more crumble cookies. And so what I would do,
dude.
I just like
So then you got
crumble cookies.
then you got crumble cookie on the brain. You're
Yeah.
Like, I want to go get a cookie. You know, like,
I feel bad. It's just like, I know you want it. So
well, I like what you're saying, because this is, I can't remember where I heard this or who said it, but a goal not written down is simply a dream.
mm-hmm.
We all have a million goals every single day. Like, I mean, I'm like a visual guy. So like, obviously my phone background is my wife and my kids, right? But then the other ones that aren't as pressing, like my laptop background, my iPad or my watch, are things that I use as constant reminders. Obviously that's kind of like a vision board thing. People talk about that, of things that I want to obtain or things that I want to be big or whatever. And when I made that my background, oh man, I was so motivated. But now I'm kind of like, oh, that's a cool picture. Like I'm not any closer to obtaining that truck or building this company or whatever. I mean, we're still working at it, but that's, I get these moments, these fleeting moments of motivation, like, and that a lot comes with the whole, like, manic behavior, right? The other day we're trying to build dad bods and beards, what it is. I'm like, hey, I know I've got to get the discipline under control, given the fact that I still do my own social media. I still do Copper John's social media. I do all this stuff. And like, now we're taking on Dad Bods and Beards social media. So I went and bought myself like a nice big calendar planner, and I started writing down everything I needed to do. Guess how much I've followed so far, right? But when I bought that planner and I bought the pens that I thought that I wanted, and I bought the notebook and I started writing stuff down, I think you get these moments where you're like, you feel real good because you're planning. We talked about this. You're planning to do the thing, and you're thinking about doing the thing, and you want to do the thing, but none of those things are actually doing the thing. I mean, that we could probably talk about that every episode going forward. But so yeah, I like what you're saying of just you gotta make those obtainable, those steps to get to that goal super attainable.
Yeah, you have the weekly. Or daily, weekly, monthly, yearly.
Now, we have to do that now for dad bods. Like we have
100%. I'm dead serious. Like I feel like
we need a vision board, like a big whiteboard.
It's a great way to just know where you want to be and how you want to do it. Like we want to have, and I'll tell everyone, I want to go on a cruise. I want to go on a cruise, an Alaskan cruise, and I want everyone to come with us.
Yeah.
And
My wife will not.
she's coming.
I
I will drag her. I will put her in a little egg, and I'll just carry her and rock her. Because she's just a little thing.
Yeah, she's 5'2". She's a little thing. But
I'll just palm her head.
I know we talk about that. I'm like, again, like I'm over here like, oh, I love the idea of a cruise, but like we've talked about my fear of open water, and I'm like, yeah,
dude,
that sounds great. But then
it is so much fun. Plus, I'm sure the karaoke.
Yeah. Oh, dude. And then I'm sure the all you can eat buffet would probably.
Anyway,
okay, well, I'm
you were talking about this.
Motivated going to cruise now, right?
No, and I want to get rid of my dad bod. No, but in all reality, though, you were talking about how you did the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
You were excited for it, but you didn't do it in the end. Like you failed to do it.
Most of it, yeah. I did some of it.
But that's another thing is forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of us who will like, oh, I'm going on a diet. You know, and you shouldn't be going on diets. You should be changing the way you think, changing your lifestyle, because you can't sustain a diet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have that crumble cookie, don't despair. Don't get like just
it didn't kill your goals.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, that was really good. I only had one. I didn't have two. High five.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
2 crumble cookies is a lot.
Oh yeah, but I've had.
Oh, so
dude,
that's why I'm saying I know it's.
I'm not gonna lie. I had the carrot cake one.
Pretty good. I don't think vegetables belong in desserts.
Dude, it was amazing. I cried a little. My
funny.
chin quivered. I'm like, no one will touch this. This is mine.
I like what you said though about kind of like forgiving yourself, kind of taking it easy on yourself. Like I was just over here. I mean, that's the YouTube video I was making for Copper Johns this week was talking about comparison, right? Like comparing ourselves to others. And I think that has a lot to do with motivation and discipline too, is like sometimes we're motivated because we want to look like that person. We want to have that person's life. And 99% of these motivational speakers out here and these big social media icons that are like showing you their house and their cars and stuff like that, like they're getting the views and they're getting the content and the traction because they know that it's kind of like, you know, siphoning. People are kind of like, they attach themselves to that because they want that. And so they like project themselves into that situation and feel motivated for a minute. But then you said at the end of the day, we're just going to go back to our lives. We're going to like stay in the same ruts, whether they're positive or negative. I'm not saying necessarily if we're not that person that your life sucks, but it's like, you know, not every single one of us is going to be the guy on the side of the hill with a Lamborghini. Like not all of us want to be that anyways. Like I don't no desire for a mansion and a Lamborghini. I want 100 acres of flat land and a barn dominium and a truck. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's different.
I want a swimming pool.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. Cool.
Yeah, but I think for me, it's like you gotta find what motivates you. You gotta find the inner motivation because like external motivation is super fleeting, and I feel sometimes guilty being a part of like the social media, you know, like big cog machine, like a cog in the social media machine. So that's why I try to put out the content that I do, of kind of like, you got this. Like, I'm proud of you. Like, just keep going because I want people to like
find. Well, not only does that, it helps you.
It does. Oh, dude, I will admit I'm very selfish with my social media because it's a huge coping mechanism for me. And like the amount of times.
And I think that's why you've blown up because it's not real. It's not real. It's not fake.
It's not fake.
It's really you. Like you do suffer from this. You do, and people can understand that.
I think it's because I find myself being like, man, I really wish somebody would have told me this. I really wish somebody that I looked up to or I cared about would have told me this. Now, granted, my wife has told me a lot of those things, and my wife stood by me through my darkest times. She will always be 100%, you know, a motivational source for me. No matter what stage what she's in, I'm always motivated to do the best I can to take care of my wife and then subsequently my children, right? Because this could be a big taboo thing. I love my children to death, but my wife, absolute number one. You know what I mean? Because Absolutely. I also trust and 100% okay with the fact that my children are my wife's number one. And I'm not saying that's the way it has to be or that my wife doesn't love me or whatever, but like I care so much for my wife's well-being because of some of the things that she's been through that I feel, I've talked about this before. I feel like I am the steward and the guardian of my wife's like happiness. And there's a lot of times that I fall, I trip and fall in that category. But I feel like you got to find the self motivation to like, to to just try. I mean, that's the whole everything I do with my social media is like be proud of yourself for like give yourself like half a second
Mm-hmm.
to look at your life and be like things aren't going as bad as the dark parts of your brain are telling you they are. Like you don't need X amount of people or so and so on social media telling you that one thing. Like you don't need me on social media telling you that, but I know that it helps. So that's why I try to put out what I can. And I do it sometimes in a funny way because it lessens the blow a little bit of that life can suck sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the very end of the day, if there's any advice that I could give someone between motivation and discipline, like find your inner motivation like as best as you can without trying to find it from an external source. And then once you get it, like latch onto that and remember that feeling as hard as you can. I know it's easier said than done, but then attach that to like one thing that you can do and don't try to become disciplined in everything all at once because you're gonna freaking fail. Do one thing. Like the one thing I'm trying to work on right now, getting up when my alarm goes off the first time. We started talking about this weeks ago. I'm still practicing that. And I still fail with it because I stay up too late working on social media.
No, it's true.
So I pick one thing. If you want to work on dedication, or I keep saying dedication, discipline, if you want to work on discipline, like pick one thing. Take your medication.
Mm-hmm.
Start there. Like, get up when the alarm goes off the first time. Like, eat breakfast every day. Like pick something simple and start there. That's
I love that. Is it possible to have too much motivation or too much discipline? And if so, is it positive or negative?
Oh, that's yeah. I think you can become so motivated that you don't do anything. Because
Okay, think of the opposite. That's
Yeah.
where I was going for. Is there something to be too motivated or too disciplined?
almost kind of like erratic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how so? And how can it be damaging?
Well, I mean, you could be so disciplined in the sense that you overlook things, overlook people, overlook situations.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen. I think you and I have seen that with some people as they become so dedicated to trying to make something work that they overlook something and
Mm-hmm.
they do too much, right? You can be so overly motivated that you can be perceived as somebody who's just like erratic, manic, right? That's why I say for me, and I'm only speaking for me, like I don't ever want to portray like I'm the person that has the answers. Simplicity and like because complexity is like how my whole life ran all the time and it was so manic and it was so like exhausting
Mm-hmm.
that the simplicity is really what did it for me. Like simplifying. So I think extremes in any facet can be bad. Right? I mean, we see people that take exercising to the extreme, but then we've talked to, talk to trainer Mike and he's just like, you gotta moderate. Like he sits
Yeah.
there and they have a whole, that dude is fit as a fiddle. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that is the definition of it. And him and his wife, they have the
Crumble cookies once a week.
they do crumble cookie reviews.
Mhm.
So I think you got to find that healthy balance. So they say moderation in all things. So yeah, you have too much motivation, you have too much discipline. Yeah, it's probably something that's lacking because you're so focused on those.
Yeah. So for me, I take this one personally, and because I've had this problem where I had zero motivation.
Oh yeah.
Like I've had for the past year, I would say I have zero motivation to do anything. You just do it.
Yeah.
Because my passion and everything is still there. Motivation, I guess, is there, but come midnight and I'm still having to make butters and oils and mustache waxes and balms and shampoos and conditioners. It gets tiring. Then you have to wake up at 5 o'clock to go do your full-time job and go teach and then do it all over again and answer emails and be 100% the business. You know what I mean? Answer emails, answer all your DMs, do social media, and doing that for 3 straight years, it got to the point where I like almost had a mental breakdown.
Oh, I believe it.
Like the therapy, I got to go to therapy. I got to pay attention more to my family. Like you said, things start to, because I was literally working 20 hours a day.
Oh yeah, you're barely sleeping.
Yeah. And I mean, and then Candace was just almost to that point too. And there were some days where she wouldn't even sleep. And it got to the point where I'm like, we can't function.
Yeah.
We cannot keep doing this. And so then I said, okay, we're going to hire someone to do emails and take care of my customer service. And then, hey, we're going to hire someone to help me and Candace in the lab and help create stuff. And then, hey, I need help with social media. And I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. And since then, I have been able to take on daily duties that I haven't been able to take care of. And then I'm like, it's 10.
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock at night, and I
You're
don't
like,
have anything. I
you're like,
can,
what's this?
I don't know. Serious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And because of the time that has allowed me, I can do lives with my customers.
Yeah.
I can get to know them. We can have game nights. I can go to my kids and say, hey, let's go to a movie. Hey, we're dude, I have like outdoors is my favorite thing in the whole entire world. Like I love fishing. I love camping. Like it's one
But
thing
when's
that
the last time you went?
3, 4 years ago.
Crazy. Yeah.
But because someone I know, his name might be Logan, said, "Hey, you need to go get a warehouse. I know someone who will do this for you. I can go camping this every weekend now if I want to.
You sure?
I haven't been able to do that because I'm always packing orders.
Yeah.
I
Good.
don't have to do that anymore.
Well, you better go freaking camping now.
No,
man.
but that's why I went to the doctor to see if I have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Now I might just because I'm sleeping on my face. But
Yeah.
no, but it's just like, you know how hard it was for me to give that up?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was right there with you.
But I had too much motivation, too much discipline where I overlooked things, overlooked my health, I overlooked my family life. And I'm just
Do you
like,
think it was like maybe micromanagement a little bit, or
yes,
or
no, because it's my baby.
well,
Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
no, it's 100% micromanaged. It's like no one can do this like I can.
Yeah.
And I'm dead serious. I'm like, and you listen, I'm like, well, they don't need to do what because it's not theirs. They just need to clock in and clock out. But if I teach them and motivate them and show them how to do things the right way, and we found some really good people, like who can do their things. And the problem is sometimes, they get sick. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
and so you just, and then because when I got freaking knee surgery, and the next day, like I got my knee replacement, the next day I'm making oils and I'm throbbing.
Oh yeah. I believe it.
And me and Candace are sitting here making beard oils because who else is going to do it?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like David Goggins, like who's going to carry the boat? Who's going to carry the log? Right.
And so now it's just we have so much inventory so that we can fulfill all the orders. It's been nice. And so it's just like you can have too much discipline. You can have too much where you focus too much on one thing that you lose track of the other things.
So let me spin this real quick. And I might have a story to back this up. I might not share it. We'll see. Have you ever, or do you see the potential of motivation or discipline being used for the wrong thing? Like maybe you have a situation where you're in a tight spot and some people feel motivated to go do something that's going to hurt someone else to gain something or to get themselves out of a tight spot. So like, cause we had a situation at work recently, where an individual, I guess I'm still trying to figure out the thought process behind it, was just it was just such a blatant lie. Tried to sell something to my brother and I from a company perspective that, well, actually, at this point, it's basically we utilize diesel fuel in literally everything that we do. And we have external fuel tanks. There's one on the back of my truck. There's one on all of the foreman's trucks. And there was this one from a job on a pallet. So there's a 100-gallon fuel tank so you could transfer it to different jobs. The machines can roll up. We're working with a contractor, and the contractor was like, hey, at the end of this job, you can take this extra tank. We don't need it anymore. It could be like $1,500. So we're like, done. Well, it was sitting on that job and has been sitting on the job for months. I knew it was there. My brother knew it was there. We already kind of agreed, yeah, we're going to take it. Well, one of the guys that works for us realized that he was told from someone else on the same job, like, oh, do you want to take that fuel tank when you're done? Not realizing that it had already been agreed upon that we were going to take it. So he saw an opportunity and was somehow motivated to fabricate this whole story of how he came in contact with this fuel tank, not knowing that we already knew about it, and tried to sell it to us. It was like, hey, so-and-so is getting rid of their truck or whatever, and they want to know if you want to buy this fuel tank. And I was like, oh, send me a picture. Sends me a picture. It's the tank we already were gifted, essentially. And he created this whole story that was 100% fabricated. And I was just kind of like, what's the motive? I mean, like, I get money as a motivating factor, especially if you're in a tight spot. But then it was like doubling down once caught. And so that's what I just was trying to get in his head about it, of kind of like, what's the driving factor here to just keep going with the lie instead of just being like, I'm sorry. I'm in this kind of a situation. So it's like, not that I'm judging the guy, because obviously, like, I did a bunch of stupid stuff when I was super manic, and like, I can't put myself back in that headspace. Like, how was I motivated to do this and this and this?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I'm not trying to judge the guy, but it's almost like I can't put myself back in the headspace to understand the motivation behind just just doing something dumb instead of just coming out and being like, this is my situation. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm here. I didn't mean to lie to you, versus still not owning up to it. So it just kind of blows my mind a little bit. Where in that point, there had to be a level of motivation of like, I'm going to achieve or gain something out of this situation, but like had to go through this huge like creative process to come up with this lie.
So the first thing that comes to my mind is I lived in Texas for a long time,
Yeah.
for 2 years, and I met a lot of people from Latin America
Yeah.
where they came across illegally in order for them to be able to make money for their families,
Sure.
you know,
I
and
get that.
instead send home money down there and stuff like that. So I had to take it to show some empathy, and I'm like, hey, I'm a dad. If I had, if America did not supply the income that was needed to take care of my family, the basic necessities, food, water, shelter, clothes, all that kind of stuff, what would I do?
Exactly.
And I'm like, I probably would cross the river and go work somewhere else
Mm.
illegally if they're not letting me in. And I'm like, am I saying it's right? No, I'm not saying. But what I'm saying is if we were to put ourselves in other people's positions and understand, like, they're in a rough spot.
Yeah.
Now, is it right to lie? No. Is it right to
Well,
do
and
something
that's
illegal?
why
No.
I left that 100% to my brother.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't going to confront anybody in that situation, because one, it's not my spot, and two, like I've been in similar situations.
Mhm.
Like I said, I just couldn't put myself back in that headspace, other than just trying to empathize and being like, hey, what is the situation that maybe this individual is in this predicament, that is something that is maybe one of the only ways out, or that is something that can, like, in that situation, it makes me think of like, what can I do to maybe help instead? Because it's like, I've been in the frantic situations of trying to come up with money because I made a mistake here or there, or just because I wasn't making enough because the economy sucks. So instead of like jumping down their throat and beating them down or making them feel stupid or anything like that, I mean, I left the professional conversation up to my brother, because he's the owner and everything. But at the same time, I don't think that bad decisions make people inherently bad. And that's kind of why I asked you, of like, you can be motivated to make the wrong decision because you feel like it's the only decision you can make in the moment. So I think that's kind of goes back to what you're saying, of like, give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Like, apologize to yourself. Like, don't be so hard on yourself, because we make mistakes. And I don't think there is a clear cut of like, motivation is better than discipline, and discipline is better than motivation. I think they both yield different results and are applicable at different times.
So let me ask you this: how does motivation, discipline impact our well-being?
I think it impacts it as much as you utilize it. I mean, you could like, you could sit on the couch and do nothing all day long, and it's not going to impact you at all because nothing's changing. Or if you utilize them and use them as tools, then you can achieve probably anything, right? I think that everybody's capable of, I think that everybody has different talents. Everybody has different, things that they're good at. Like, I don't have the degrees that you do. I couldn't do what you do, but I think with enough motivation and determination and dedication and discipline, I could probably eventually obtain those degrees one day.
Absolutely.
Maybe not as easily as you did, because we don't think the same way.
Yeah,
So I think
you think a lot better.
Well, no, I think a lot faster than you do.
You do.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that I think better, right? Right? Like, but that's where it just.
I'm more like you're Winnie the Pooh, and you're more like Tigger.
Oh yeah, I'm totally. So no, I think it's just, you got to use them as tools. I think it's just, it is what it is. It is what you make it.
So the way I think about that question is, how does it help our well-being? I'm doing this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like we talked about with goals, little simple daily tasks give us self-worth.
I like that.
When we are accomplishing, like when we help someone, when we go work out and we did that thing we set out to do, when we don't hit snooze button, We get up when our alarm, we achieve something. Each achievement gives us more self-worth for that day. Now, there's a difference between self-worth and your self-esteem.
Mm.
Self-worth is how you feel about yourself. Like you can have a positive self-esteem and all this and still feel like, I'm crap today.
Oh, yeah. I've been there many
But
times.
every little thing that you accomplish every day due to the discipline, due to the goals that you set and the motivation gives you more self-worth. And I
What
think
is it? What's that? What's that? Robert says it all the time. Of course, Robert comes up in this episode, right? The magic you're looking for is found in the things you're not doing,
mm-hmm.
or excuse me, they're found in the hard things you're not doing. And then there's, I mean, I get so jealous of guys like Robert that just like crave the hard stuff, because I know, like, as a man, when you accomplish something hard, you're like, maybe
Mm-hmm.
inwardly and outwardly flexing, like, yeah, like I did it, right? Like, so that's something that, like, I wrote that down on my calendar.
Okay.
I wrote that down in my book of, like, the magic you're looking for is in the hard things you're not doing.
But the hard things are not always working out. The
Yeah.
hard things are not always
Oh yeah.
working on a business or doing a podcast. Some of the hard things is simply getting up. Sometimes the hardest thing is giving your wife a hug. Sometimes the hardest thing is taking your time to go walk your son down the block and just have a conversation. So I don't want people to think that working out or running a business or all this kind of stuff is what we're talking about. No, every little step that is hard for you, whether it be just to open up and be vulnerable to your wife and say, I am suffering, or telling your family that you love them.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things at first for me was the thing called the love circle. And it's weird. And you talk about it and it's weird.
Sure.
But what we do is, so all 8 of us, all my kids and my wife, we sit in a circle. And and it's embarrassing, especially at first. Each individual goes. And so we'll start with the youngest. And so there's Hattie. I love Hattie because. And everyone goes around and looks at Hattie and tells her why they love her. Then Hattie has to go. I love Hattie because.
Oh, she's doing it over.
And it's rough. It's hard.
Because then you have to say something what you love about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard.
And so what I'm saying though is just even those little things that are tough for us, that's an accomplishment.
Dude, I want to try that.
It's really good. And it really helps your
I mean, ours will take half as long because there's 4 people in my family.
well, and then also now we're to the point where, like, okay, you love them. Just
like,
just wrap this crap up. Like 20 minutes later, you're still talking about
You're like, it's not even my turn. Nobody's told me how much they love me.
Just tell me already. No, but it's just a little thing. So I just need everyone to know that it's not these huge, gigantic gestures that we're talking about. Like, you might want to buy that house.
Yeah.
But that's years down the road. What are you going to do daily? Hey, guess what? I got a job. It's not part-time anymore. I got a full-time job. Hey, guess what? I got so much experience. I'm now above minimum wage and I'm a manager.
Yeah.
And it's all those little steps. And those are huge accomplishments. And so it's things like that. It's just, it's not, I'd stop doing drugs, this is open knowledge. Like with Robert, like he grows his beard because he's sober for 7 years or 8 years now. It's amazing, but not everything is that big.
But he'll show you all the little steps that he took to
exactly.
Get there. Yeah.
And I'm so excited to have him on this podcast. We're going to fly him out here. We got to.
Oh, 100%.
And I've already talked to him. He's agreed upon it. He's been asked millions of times to share his story, and he's going to share it with us.
He's one of the buddies, man.
Yes, yeah. he is. We're close to him, and I look to him right. But I'm not saying that anything negative towards that. I'm just saying that what's your battle?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Through this whole thing, the last 20, 30 minutes, all I can think about is I'm over here saying, like, do the little thing. I'm over here preaching, like, oh, do the little thing. And I'm realizing as I'm listening to you talk, the little thing that I've been, like, that has been lacking for me is just, like, making a conscious effort to listen to my wife.
It's a hard one. No, I'm
like,
not,
dude,
it's hard for me.
I'm like sitting here. Not that I'm not listening to you. It's like all the different things are playing through my head of what some people would probably, I mean, I don't know. I'm not even going to say that. Just my wife, like, asking me to do this or
Mhm.
asking me to do that, or just her just talking to me and me being zoned into my phone, things like that.
That's it.
So because but in my mind I'm kind of like, well, but I'm doing this because we have this goal. I'm zoned into my phone because I'm working on dad bods and beards.
Mhm.
I'm working on Copper Johns. I'm working on, and then I have the whole aspect that of the logistics manager at
Mhm.
Cedar Peak Construction. Like I have all of these reasons why I need to be on my phone, on my laptop, on my iPad, on my on this and this and this. Like I can't tell you the last time I watched a show all the way through. Like I'm watching a show while I'm working and I'm not paying attention.
Well, you were talking about like we were talking about conspiracy theories. Like you
Yeah.
haven't seen this, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
When?
But that's what I'm saying is that like I'm over here like, well, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? I'm like the most important person in my life. And I
Yeah.
was just sitting here telling you that like my wife is the most important person to me. Love my kids, but I always put my wife first. But I'm sitting here thinking the whole time, I'm like, well, that's one thing I need to put some motivation and some discipline into is just like, yeah, go help her fold the laundry because she's texted you about it 3 times. Because when you look at it, even with 2 kids and 2 adults, it overflows. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And she's been asking me to paint this door, to fix the dishwasher, to do that stuff. And it's like some guys will be like, oh, they're nagging. No, it's like because you play a necessary role in your family. And I don't know, I'm having this whole huge epiphany right now. It's
That's
kind of
cool.
like, and my wife's gonna like, mm-hmm. like, but that's just all I can think of in this whole moment is just like that's of everything that I'm working on right now, of all the desires and dreams that I have, of everything we're working towards, I need to be putting more effort in there because at the end of the day, all of these things could fade away,
Mhm.
and she's the one person that I can't let fade away.
Yeah,
So
I like that. And mine is Candace has recently stopped. No, she'll talk to me, but she'll know sometimes I'm not there.
oh yeah.
And I'm not that I'm no, I'm zoned out from like I but she'll start talking to me and I don't even realize necessarily I'm talking to her, but I'm answering her.
Oh
But I'm
yeah.
so focused on whatever I'm doing on the computer or whatnot that I'm like, so I have really the past I would say 2 weeks I've really tried to listen, but sometimes like yesterday she never mind, I'm not going to say anything. No, that's what she would say to me, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
no, she would say that to me, and I'm like, I promise I'm listening.
So in that moment, that piques your interest. You're like, wait. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, no. I was listening. Like I was like, I'm because
Oh
my goal is to give her the attention when she needs it, or when she wants to talk. And so I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm listening. And then she's like, no, never mind, you're not, because she's so used to me not listening.
yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm listening. I just don't understand what you're talking about because I don't like kind of like you were talking about conspiracy theories. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so I was just listening so you can give me the story and all that kind of stuff. And she took it as what I always was doing. And
Yeah, that's a hard one.
and so, but no, she knows I'm trying. I because I just look at her right now and I'm just, oh, she's so cute. Like really, like
It's funny.
no, really, it's like, oh, I just want to squeeze her.
You know, like second honeymoon phase.
No, I don't know what it is. Like lately, I just look at her and I'm just like
Yeah.
in awe.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
cool.
want her to know that. And I just want to like, brrr, I just want to squeeze her. That's why I tell her. She's like, you're so weird. And I'm like, I just want to bite.
I love that your impression of your wife sounds nothing like your wife.
She
But
she says you always make me sound like a weird grandma.
yeah, I think you do the same voice for every person.
I don't
But
have an accent.
yeah. But no, I think that's what it boils down to is just you can find motivation for anything you want on the internet nowadays. But I think at your core, I mean, spend some time. Dude, one thing I've been looking into is like meditating to like
It's
to
hard.
listen to. Yeah. Try
Mhm.
meditating when there's 3 people inside your head.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, tell them all to shut up. But no, just trying to find like inward, like on the inside, like what do I truly want the most? What am I truly trying to obtain? And like, what do I stand to gain from it? And not in a selfish way, but like a better relationship with my kids, a stronger bond with my wife, or
Better
like,
toenail.
but what?
I have a really bad toenail. And
You can't
I've been really, really focusing on going to the doctor to take care of my toenail.
Good for you, buddy. Oh gosh, but no, I like this.
That's
I'm
why I
glad.
won't get a pedicure with my wife.
Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm not gonna get a pedicure because I have a couple of web toes. So,
But that's not bad compared to my
and you know
toenail.
what? I don't swim any faster. I
You
can be as
should.
motivated as I want. I don't.
Okay, so let's focus here.
Yeah, no.
It's on my fault.
No.
Last quote.
Sure.
Chris, okay, I want to get your take on this, so please listen.
Okay.
Focus. Don't think about your wife.
Yeah. Back up so you don't blow people's ears out.
Oh, sorry. Because it's sensitive. All right. Christina Trey of the Linder Center of Hope said, research shows that people who have a good sense of discipline are less likely to suffer from major mental health issues and more likely to experience overall increased wellness. Some mental health benefits of being disciplined are increases depressed. Some mental health benefits of being disciplined are it increases depressed moods, it creates less anxiety or stress, it combats drugs or alcohol abuse, it decreases potential for developing eating disorders, and it helps manage obsessive compulsive disorders. Often, mental health practitioners will say the key to real therapeutic change is when someone finally figures out how to show up for themselves. It's the improved habits and disciplines they enforce on themselves that create positive change. They learn to be healthier and show up successfully.
Dude, I like that. I never put words to that, but that's probably what it is. I think that was the switch in me was I decided to show up for myself one day.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for reading that. Like that like just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean you can't will away every bad thing in your life, but if there's something you can do to affect it, try it.
How many times has someone said, go to the gym, go to the gym, go to the gym?
There's a whole dude on social media, that's his whole shtick.
No, but that's what I mean. I was like, dude, you telling me makes me not want to go.
Yeah, you got to show up for yourself.
Exactly. And finally, when you're ready, you're going to go. And I have a family member of mine that is an extraordinary human. And I can't, like, just gorgeous, wonderful person, funny, quick-witted, intelligent, but just lacks self-worth and self-esteem and is struggling and goes to therapy, does a lot of things. And as soon as they show up for themselves, she's going to be shocked.
Be a game changer.
Going to be huge. And I'm just looking forward to it because she deserves it. And one day it's going to be fun to see. And but it's our job as parents to love no matter what, to care no matter what, and to help guide. And I think that's what we're doing. And so yeah, I think that's the one thing is show up for yourself. I think that's a great way to end this is just show up for 100%. Yourself.
I was going to say, I have nothing else to add. I loved that at the very end. Just show up for yourself.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. It means the world to us. If you have a chance, please give us a 5-star review, as well as write something a little pretty in there so that we know that you know that we know that you care. Anyway, have a great day, guys. I can't do it.
Dude, that was good. I liked that. You can't redo it without laughing. That was good.